Alrighty everyone, welcome back. Now, with The Mandalorian Season 3 Chapter 21 now officially out on Disney+, that had a different tone in comparison to the past episodes. I'm sure a lot of fans are going to love this episode. If you guys have not seen it just yet, go ahead and check it out. But on top of this, we know that Jon, George, Dave, and even Bob Iger are already pre-planning a lot of big announcements to be unveiled at Star Wars Celebration and D23, along with expanding the roadmap that's really going to be an ever-evolving process. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that there's a lot of things happening with The Mandalorian Season 4, the second season of Ahsoka, and a whole lot more on the table, that of course is going to progress more so by Jon and Dave. We also have the other end of the spectrum, Kathleen Kennedy having a lot of issues with the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew and how those two shows are in a very big production mess right now. However, with that being put out there and said, one thing is for certain is that Bob Iger is trying to clean up house over at Lucasfilm. So basically there is this very long process that's going to take over the course of the next 2 years where they are going to progressively and slowly keep swapping out specific Lucasfilm employees in replacement with other ones that are more capable and more in tune with George Lucas's vision and those that support him. And so with that being, of course, established, the fact that they really want to do better and they want to make Star Wars as best as they can, this just goes to show you that Disney's trying to create a turnaround. Now, with that being, of course, finalized, given that Bob Iger has authorized quite a number of, orders for specific Star Wars projects, one thing in particular is actually very reassuring. With both Disney and Lucasfilm preparing to make big changes to the franchise, it's noted that as of right now, Disney CEO Bob Iger is making a big call that involves Kathleen Kennedy that is set to result in her firing from a very big Star Wars project that has now been finalized. Now, it's noted that recently Bob Iger made the official call to fire Kennedy as a producer from The Mandalorian Season 4 and from the second season of the Ahsoka Tano series that is currently in development with the help of George Lucas. The main reason why Kennedy was fired as a producer from the fourth season had a lot to do with the fact that she was keeping the budget of the series to a bare minimum, and Disney wanted to take no more risks of fans being introduced to lower quality content. Jon Favreau is now said to be taking over as producer for the new season that is set to begin filming by this summer. They are also, of course, getting ready for a 2024 holiday season release. Now, part of Kennedy's big issues with Jon and Dave's direction was the uptick of usage of deepfake and de-aging technology, which of course drastically raised the budget of Mando 4. This would connect with the previous details and leaks of many cameos, such as Luke, for example, coming into play in a major way for Mando 4. Now, let me just stop here quick for a second before I get to the next big piece, is that one thing about Kathleen Kennedy is that she likes to keep things very low budget, to a bare minimum, an extremely small scale. That's basically going to be her style with the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, and she wanted to do the same exact thing with Mando Season 4 and Star Wars Ahsoka. Now, obviously, with Ahsoka already done filming, she had no control over that, but she wanted to cut back on post-production. And thankfully, she's being swapped out for, of course, a producer for the second season, which has not begun filming just yet. So there's a lot of things going on with Kennedy getting swapped out as a producer and getting fired as one for not just Mando 4, but also for the second season of Ahsoka, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys recall us talking about this, but Disney's big aim right now is to make Ahsoka the new flagship series. So basically everything is going to run in cycles. They're going to actually keep on moving ahead with all these different shows. That's going to be ever evolving, but eventually one show is going to become the new flagship show for a couple of years until the next one becomes the new flagship show. It's almost like a new style or format that Disney is embracing. As much as fans love The Mandalorian, they are looking to make Ahsoka the new main series because of how driven it is into the mythology of the Jedi, the dark side, the light, and even will have a lot of involvement with the Mandalorians and the bounty hunters, etc. Now that brings us to the next segment about all of this and exactly what's going on with Kathleen Kennedy. That's really not a huge surprise, however, but additionally, Kennedy also wanted to reduce the amount of Lucasfilm employees working on the 4th season of Mando, as Jon and Dave were preparing to make it a more wide-scale show, with longer and more episodes with the new season. Kennedy wanted to keep the show down, of course, to 8 or 7 episodes, which, by the way, is pretty short if she wanted to make it 7. While Jon and Dave wanted to bump it up to 10 to 12. With Kennedy now out as a producer for all of these goals by Jon and Dave, they are now officially moving ahead with the new season and that they already have tentative plans for a season 5 of Mando, surprisingly that will end up actually having a higher budget than 4. Bob Iger is the one who approved all of this just a couple of days ago in order to regulate Star Wars as a whole and to really bring things to a higher value. So you guys may recall what Bob Iger talked about just like maybe, 3 weeks ago? Is that he wants to focus on more quality-driven projects, where he wants to not spew out as much spin-offs or as many spin-offs of spin-offs, if that makes sense, which I believe is why it's very possible that the Lando show may be dead in the water. It's not moving in development at all, and it's looking that it might get cancelled. We know that Glover has been very much, busy with that, of course, not getting involved because he's busy with other projects. But apart from that, given that Bob Iger is approving all of these different decisions, getting rid of Kathleen Kennedy as a producer for Mando Season 4 and Ahsoka Season 2, I think is a big deal. It absolutely is, because it just goes to show you that Disney's fed up with Kathleen Kennedy, and Indiana Jones 5 right now, The Dial of Destiny, is not looking too good. We've talked about this briefly before in the past, but that movie in particular, that's 100% led by Kennedy, by the way, is really not looking like it's going to be a huge hit. Let's just say that. The numbers are not going to meet Disney's expectations, not even close. So we have until June until that movie arrives, and that's going to be the huge telltale about Kathleen Kennedy's situation. They still want her out officially by this August, but with the Dial of Destiny's performance, that's really going to determine whether or not Disney wants to pull the trigger earlier than August, or if they want to hold out until that month or not. So it's going to be a very interesting, couple of months leading up to the Dial of Destiny. So anyways, the thing here about Kathleen Kennedy too, I'm very glad that they shifted away from her vision, the fact that she wanted to keep things so limited and so low budget, the fact that, yes, the budget was raised by Jon and Dave because they are going to be using a lot of deepfake and de-aging tech for Mando Season 4. Like I said, this is all due in part to Luke Skywalker playing a huge role in the 4th season of The Mandalorian, as well as in the 2nd season of Ahsoka. So anyways, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this entire situation, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.